Hey, what's up, fantasy people? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, coming at you live from my garage. And this is the Fantasy Footballin' Show. Today's episode, Week 12, Fantasy Footballin' on a Budget. This is our waiver wire show, Footballin' on a Budget, because I give you a monetary value on each player. You know, fab, free agency budget, $100. And that's how we're going to do our priority. So, before I start, if you just want to help us out and just click the thumbs up button, that'd be amazing. And hey, if you don't like us, you can thumbs down, leave us a hate message. That works too. So getting into this, Isiah Pacheco is the number one running back. I mean, if he's still available. Went 16 for 82 versus Jags 2 weeks ago. The next running back only getting one carry now this week with 15. He had 15 for 107 versus the Chargers, with all other running backs getting 8 carries total. And the next game, they're getting the Rams. So the Rams can't score points. And I forget who they just went against, but you can run against the Rams as well. So Isiah Pacheco, I think he is a matchup dependent player, but this is a very good matchup for Pacheco. So I like Pacheco. I'd spend $50 on Pacheco because you're going to be able to start him like half the games going forward. So I think he's a really good pickup. I mean, he's been on this waiver show how many times? I mean, if you've been watching this. And then if this seems a little bit blurry to you, I'm shooting this on my laptop. I know my phone has a better camera, but this whole editing thing is kind of difficult. So I'm going to be buying an HD webcam soon. So I'm sorry about the blurriness, but it will be fixed, I promise. And then next up, so Latavius Murray. Melvin Gordon released yesterday. Edmonds hurt his ankle and is out for a while. Latavius Murray went 17 for 49 with the touchdown. But the big thing is he caught 4 passes for 23 yards. So I think if he can continue to be the pass catching back there, I don't know if they're going to bring back Boone. They probably will. He's going to at least have flex value going forward because it's a big deal that they got rid of Melvin Gordon. Javonte Williams owners have been waiting for this day forever, and guess what? You just had to wait way too long. And he got injured. Week 3? I owned him. I drafted him second round. So, yeah, he went 17 for 49. So, crappy Raiders. It's Carolina this week. So, the Broncos D should be able to keep the game close and give Latavius Murray a lot of opportunities. So, I do think that he gets a very similar stat line. They win against a terrible, Raiders defense. But I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities. I think he will get a touchdown this next week. I think he's flex worthy most weeks going forward, unless it's just a really bad matchup. $15 I'd spend on him. Next up, James Cook, my fantasy MVP, baby. He's looking amazing, amazing. Nyheim Hines who, dude? Nyheim Hines who? Nyheim Hines who? Dude, Nyheim Hines who? Man, that's a chant right there if you want to start that going. Maybe when I'm drinking on Friday, I'll start chanting that. So, I loved James Cook. I liked how he looked. Other than the first game of the year, he's looked amazing. But then I got I was not doing too well after they traded for Nyheim Hines. And, you heard all the practice talk. Oh, man, Nyheim Hines is so fast. He's really good, blah, blah, blah. And from that time forward, James Cook has been getting more and more evolved and involved. So went 11 for 86 versus Cleveland. With Singletary going for 18 for 86. So that's the same amount of yards, but he did it in a much more efficient manner. And if you watch that game, dude, he was just ripping off 12-yard runs. Like, it's not like a big run and then a small run, big run, small run. Dude, he's an amazing running back. He is smaller, so you'll notice he hits the hole hard, but as soon as he gets hit, he's about done. So he's more of a speed guy. But hey, man, big play waiting to happen on that offense. He also matched Singletary in targets with 2. I thought that was amazing. Because he is the pass-catching running back. And if you watch that, Jared Allen had some terrible throws to him. So that's just the way it was. It wasn't his fault. It's not like he dropped passes. It's just he's getting terrible throws. And then he gets a bloodbath versus Detroit next week. So there's a good chance for James Cook to get you some points next week. I mean, I think I might start him next week in my flex. Spend $10 on James Cook. He's a lottery ticket that is worth buying. Samaje Perine next up, $5 on him. Joe Mixon suffered a concussion this last week for the Steelers, Perine filled in and went, 11 for 30, 2.7 yards per carry. Mixon was 2.9 yards per carry before the injury. So Mixon was still like, it's not like he was a big improvement. But Perine is a great pass catcher, and he caught four catches. He had 4 catches for 54 yards and 3 TDs, man. So he's got to play against Tennessee defense, but I think Tennessee's really good at stopping the run, but you can pass catch against Tennessee if you're running back. So I think that Samaje Perine is going to have a pretty, maybe another touchdown next week if Joe Mixon doesn't clear concussion protocols. And I'm just saying this year is the year, this year is the concussion year, so they might be holding him out for one more week. And if that's the case, dude, you got to start Samaje Perine, sorry. And then Kyren Williams, only 7 carries this week versus Saints after a couple of garbage time touches last week. But Darrell Henderson was limited with the knee issue this week, so that's if Darrell Henderson's not going to be going full out this year, I do not trust Cam Akers, dude. I don't trust him. He's like on top of people's waiver wires list this morning. I'm like, dude, no thanks. If you want to do that, take a chance on Cam Akers, go ahead. But you've seen this movie before, right? And Kyren's been actually looking really good. He just hasn't had the opportunities. So, Cam Akers went average 4.1 yards a carry, 14 for 61 this last week. They play Kansas City this next week, so there could be a lot of pass catching opportunities if they're down a lot, which they are going to be down a lot. So, and he was the only running back with targets versus the Saints. So Kyren Williams is their pass catching running back. I think we're going to know what Kyren is after this next game. $1 on him, $1 on Deon Jackson. I was watching that game and I was like, oh my God, Jonathan Taylor's back. Look at that guy dragging fools. And he got up and it was Deon Jackson. That was his 1 carry. And so I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I love Deon Jackson. That fool looks so good. So he is the handcuff for Jonathan Taylor if you want to pick him up just in case, Jonathan Taylor re-aggravates his ankle. And then speaking of other handcuffs, Isaiah Spiller still the 4 carries and Eckler's 19. Doesn't look great, but he is the backup. He is the handcuff for Eckler. And then Dontrell Hilliard, this is the time of year where you want to start picking up these guys. I got a hair in my mouth, a dog hair probably. Floating around here in my garage. Quit shedding, man. But yeah, so Dontrell Hilliard, I spent $1 on too. This is the time you think about if you're set for playoffs. Protect your guys. Plus King Henry, Derrick Henry, the Titans have I think the best rushing schedule in the playoffs, fantasy playoffs. So if you want to back that up with Hilliard, that's probably smart to do. All right, on to the wide receivers. Treylon Burks, dog. Been talking about this fool for how long? How long has he been on this waiver show? So Patrick Surtain locked him up on his first game back from injury last week, but then, I was telling you guys, you want to pay attention to this game. He went 7 for 111 on 8 targets. He watched that game. It was that Thursday night game, and he's getting those deep A.J. Brown targets. And, man, he looks a lot like A.J. Brown. It's like their body types are so similar. I know they're the same height and weight. Very similar. So this is one of these last lottery tickets for the wide receivers you can pick up that have, a chance, the Amon-Ra last season chance. So I'd spend $25 on Treylon Burks. He led the team in targets last week. He's playing Cincinnati this week. So Tennessee might have to score some points because the Bengals, they know how to score some points. And the Bengals are giving up an average of 19 points to opposing wide receivers. So there are points to be had here in this game for Treylon Burks. Next up, hey, this guy's a recurring deal until people pick him up and put him on their team. Donavan Peoples-Jones, 5 targets a game and over 70 yards or a touchdown for the last 5 games. So, dude, last 5 games, he's got you. He's a top 20 wide receiver pretty much. He went 5 for 61 and a touchdown versus the tough Buffalo defense this last week, and that was surprising. He gets Desaun Watson back week 13, so that's coming up. And, God, dude, I was like, what week is this? This is week 12, right? Yeah, week 12. I don't know what I said in the beginning of the episode. I better label it right. But a lot going on, man. Anyways, they play Tampa Bay this week, and there should be some points scored. So, I'd start Donovan Peoples-Jones against everybody, man, against everybody. But Deshaun Watson's first game back is probably the only time you don't want to start him, and you just want to make sure that this is going to continue. It should, but you want to make sure. And, so I'd spend $20 on Peoples-Jones, man. He's been great. I wish I had him. Next up, Parris Campbell led team in targets 2 weeks ago with Matt Ryan back. This week he was 3rd in targets behind Pittman and Pierce. He went 5 for 67 with 6 targets. So, he was second on the team with yardage. And watching that game, it was all Michael Pittman. And then in the second half, it was all Pierce and Parris Campbell. So, But you're just picking this dude up, hoping that he captures that magic again from when Matt Ryan was starting like a couple weeks ago and he was getting 10, 11 targets. But the thing is that Matt Ryan averaged 30 throws a game over the last two since Jeff Saturday is the coach. And when Parris Campbell was getting all those points, Matt Ryan was throwing the ball over 40 times a game. So Parris Campbell might be suffering because of Jeff Saturday's new philosophy of running the ball more, which is smart for the team but bad for fantasy. So Michael Pittman might be the only dude that you can trust on this team, and even him, dude, like he's like a wide receiver 3. And I have him. I drafted him, the 4th round or 3rd round? Sucks. Anyways, at least things are looking up for the Colts. The next up, Darius Slay, big play Slay. He's been on here forever. $7. That's been on Darius Slay. Has at least 10 fantasy points in 5 of the last 6 games. 2 touchdowns in the last 4. Big news, Wan'Dale Robinson, the guy that I loved, just went to IR yesterday, and he had, he just went 10 for 100. But Darius Slay went 5 for 86 on 10 targets. This was against the Lions, so this is probably one of the best games. But with Wan'Dale Robinson leaving on IR, I mean, dude, Darius Slay is a good pickup. So they're going to have to go against Dallas next week. That's going to be tough because he's the only receiving option that they're going to have to defend. But I really do like Darius Slay. That's right. So next up, Demarcus Robinson. Led the team in targets with 9 versus Carolina last week and caught all of them for 128 yards. So the next leading wide receiver was Duvernay, who went 1 for 3. So this is the only wide receiver catching balls right now. And as long as Bateman's out, dude, Demarcus Robinson looks like a really good pickup. I mean, he's got a good connection with Lamar Jackson out of nowhere. So he had 8 targets 2 weeks ago versus Tampa Bay, and he plays Jacksonville this week. So hey, I think you could start Demarcus Robinson in your flex this week. And that's with Mark Andrews getting a ton of targets as well. So there you go. And then I've got 2 players kind of combination. My next up is Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore. Hardman scored 3 weeks in a row before getting injured. Now Tony just re-injured his hamstring. He's on IR now. And Juju coming back with Will Hamper, I think Justin Watson, who got all the targets this last game. But not Sky Moore. I think Sky Moore is kind of this this gadget guy who they're going to move around and do stuff with. I drafted Sky Moore on the hope that he was going to turn into something, and maybe he is now. So it might be worth picking up Sky Moore, but I would definitely pick up Mecole Hardman and wait till he gets back. I think Mecole Hardman is on – maybe that's what it is. Oh, that's what it is. So Tony's not on IR, and Mecole Hardman's on IR. So maybe probably next week you want to pick him up so then you can start him when he comes back. But Sky Moore is probably the more immediate pickup. I just wanted to mention Hardman in here. And then OBJ – you keep on hearing about coming back, so just I keep on talking about how I really am not that interested because by the time he gets back, and you're not going to start him the first week, and then I think that next week is your playoffs. So he pushed it a little bit too far for me this week, but he's going to help a real NFL team out in real life situations pretty soon. And then Terrace Marshall Jr. lastly has 9 or more fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games. Went 3 for 76 this last week versus Baltimore, which led all receivers in targets and yards. But the big deal, though, is this next week they're going against Denver, and Patrick Surtain is probably going to lock down DJ Moore, so he might be forced to go to Terrace Marshall Jr. I hate Baker Mayfield, and if he's the starting quarterback, I don't trust him. But, I mean, we're at the end of this, so $1 on Terrace Marshall. Okay, now, the tight ends. This guy is crazy, man. Juwan Johnson led Saints in targets versus Steelers and caught Dalton's lone TD 2 weeks ago, and now this last week he was tied for 3rd in targets, but he went 4 targets with 4, but went 3 for 47 and caught another touchdown. So he's got 5 touchdowns in the last 6 games. 2 of those touchdowns were versus the Cardinals, and that was, Cardinals can't cover tight ends. But dude, this is like continuing. You don't want Taysom Hill. You want Juwan Johnson. Pick him up. I'd spend $7 on him. And then Foster Moreau, I've been really liking this guy, but he had a terrible game last game, but it was against Denver. Went 1 for 33 on only 3 targets last week. But he's been averaging over 6 targets a game for the last month with Waller out. And Denver contained everybody but Devontae. And they play Seattle this upcoming week. So I think Foster's going to get back on track, get at least 6 targets and maybe a touchdown this next week. $5 on him. $5 on this next guy, Jason's boom call from last Thursday night. Austin Hooper. He was 3rd in targets with 4, but he caught all of them for 36 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they've been needing a red zone target. Like, Treylon Burks looks like he's getting a lot of the deep stuff. That's great. But it's either Derrick Henry or Austin Hooper. So you saw that. Derrick Henry threw to Austin Hooper. I really like Austin Hooper going forward for touchdowns and a little bit of yards. And this is kind of an interesting one coming up. Tyler Conklin. I spent $5 on Austin Hooper. I spent $1 on Conklin. He only went 2 for 15 on 3 targets for New England this last week. But with all this Saleh stuff not being non-committal on Zach Wilson and the team just turning on Zach Wilson, I'm kind of interested if they do switch quarterbacks, because you're going to want Conklin if they switch quarterbacks, because he's going to get peppered, 11 targets a game. And I'm not even kidding, dude. Like, Conklin's going to be a top 5 tight end-ish if they switch quarterbacks. So if you want to roll the dice on that, maybe, and see who's starting, and then drop him later on, I probably would. Quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill outdueled Aaron Rodgers last Thursday night, threw for, 333 and 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Treylon Burks emerging as a deep threat, which is amazing. And he's playing Cincinnati this upcoming week, so he's going to have to score some points. So maybe not this next week, but going forward, I really do like hey, Ryan Tannehill looked so good when they were showing those camera angles from behind the sky cam. Dude, his anticipation, everything was amazing on last Thursday. Next up, Daniel Jones continues to have high floor due to his rushing prowess. Sorry, I wrote, it's so weird to put rushing prowess on some tall, lanky white dude, Whatever. He's a gym rat, he's a real hard worker. God. I make myself laugh. Threw for 341 yards and a touchdown, but he had 2 interceptions against that Lions defense, which was kind of surprising. But the thing is, he ran, 7 times for 50 yards and another touchdown, dude. So he's got to play Dallas next week. It's going to be a tough game for him. But, man, his floor is so high relative to some of these relative to Kirk Cousins, dude. Screw Kirk Cousins, man. Jeez. Go earn your money, dude. All right, sorry. I've got personal issues against Kirk Cousins right now. And then next up, Desaun Watson, $5 I spent on him. Returns week 13 versus the Texans. But hey, I want to say that Brisket can get you there. If you want to pick up Jacoby Brisket to get you there, dude, Jacoby's been playing really well. I mean, I wish I would have played him over Kirk Cousins. God. All right, now defense. Jets, since week 4, they've been the number 3 overall defense. They get Chicago, which would not be good the last month, but Chicago, Justin Field has a separated non-shouldering thrower, or has a non-throwing shoulder. So I don't see the same Justin Fields showing up this next week. So you can roll out the Jets defense. And then Dolphins defense, they're playing the Texans. You stream defenses versus the Texans. And then Panthers defense, you stream defenses against the Tennessee. No, you don't. You stream defenses against Denver, who they're going against, and they almost just shut out Baltimore. So that's it, everybody. If you watched it to the end, you win nothing. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for watching, though. Hey, man. This is like one of the funnest things, and getting interaction and just views and likes is like so awesome in my life right now. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and we will talk to you guys later.